even on the camera. I'm designing a pauldron.
Great.
I'm using my pauldron from my night costume here, and I'm gonna make it more adult and more womany, more wonderful. Problem is I don't quite know which version of the digital files I have on there is what I actually made this from, because I have a bunch of different ones, so I'm doing a bit of guess and check.
That's why it pays to be organized.
It's why you should label things, even on your computer. But no one told me that when I was first learning. What's his name? Einstein, he never organized his computer. I'm trying out this pauldron. I'm just gonna try it on some scrap foam. I need a pen. Do you think I would have a pen? Here we go, pen. I want to make one that kind of goes out and in and kind of comes up just a little bit around this top edge. So that's why I've made this shape, but it's really a bit of a guess. Once I had drawn my two guesstimate pauldron halves, I glued them together and tried them out on my dummy. While it was on the dummy, I refined the shape a little bit. I then proceeded to unglue the two halves again so I could transfer my design changes back onto the pattern. Alright, this is my second try. Let's get in closer. I think I'm going to widen this out a little bit here. The other question is, do I put a little slit in here and bring this in? And the answer to that is yes. I decided to add an extra dart to both the front and the back of the pauldron to bring those edges in a little bit. I always like to cover up my seams, which means I needed to design some fancy details to go over top of them. And once again, I deconstructed my pauldron so I could make more changes to the paper pattern, adding in the dart, as well as adding in a bit more material on the one side so that when the two halves of the dart were closed, they would line up properly. I repeated this make and break process a few times until I was completely happy with the final shape.
Fun? Frustration?
Fun? I'm getting tired of standing right now. My back is really getting sore because I've been working really long and lots of like bending over doing stuff, and so then my back gets really tight. Other than that, fun. Now that I had a pauldron I was happy with, I could draw the extra details right on the pauldron and then destroy my pauldron again by cutting out the details. Pattern making is all about making 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions, and sometimes we have to go backwards and make 3 dimensions back into 2 dimensions, so then we can make the 2 dimensions back into 3 dimensions. So by cutting out the center part of my pauldron design, I now have 2 two-dimensional pieces, which when put together will make one 3-dimensional piece. Gotta love dimensions. So once I had finally figured out my pattern, it was a very quick job to actually make the pauldron. To get my star points evenly spaced and the same length, I used some skinny tape and a pair of dividers to mark them. And then I scored the lines with a plastic gift card. Now, if you don't have a computer and you want to get a nice symmetrical template, you can draw half your pattern on a piece of paper, fold it along the center line, and trace it. This is how I designed the bottom pivoting piece for the pauldron. I added a rivet hinge and a strip of foam around the edge for detail, and then glued a piece of webbing to the inside that had 2 strips of Velcro sewn to it, so that I would have a way to attach it to the bodice. I cut a slit in the shoulder of the bodice and used some webbing and a D-ring to create the attachment point. I also decided to finish off the raw edges of the bodice by wrapping it with a strip of foam. First time
putting this together. Hopefully it's gonna work. Alright, yep, it's on.
Hey!
I feel like I have
How does it work?
I totally feel like I'm like...
Let me punch you in the stomach.
Yeah, totally feels like armor or something.
Well, it is armor. It would totally protect you from a Nerf gun.
Yes.
That looks really cool, Rin.
Does it?
I'm gonna get a mirror so you can see it.
Yeah, I want to see that. Yeah, that's cool. That one. That goes down like that. That looks nice at the back.
So I've got the bodice done, the pauldron, the bracers. I think it's time to start painting. I'm gonna try, I think, with this sprayer to see, because that'll be really quick to just give that black bottom coat, and then I'll paint on top of that, and hopefully we get something that looks pretty awesome. First of all, I'd like to thank Homeright for sending me their Finish Max Super paint sprayer to try out for free. And secondly, I'd like to thank my wife for trusting me enough to let me use a paint sprayer in the basement. Just thought I'd test before I put paint in there whether it's gonna blow my stuff all over the place and be out of control, but it's not too bad. On second thought, I'm gonna put a garbage bag over top of this dummy and then put the thing around the dummy. Then it's not gonna move. Okay. There. The main thing I've found in my limited paint spraying experience is that it's important for the paint to be thin enough so that it sprays properly. I'm using acrylic paints here, so I used water to thin them down significantly. Now if you don't have a paint sprayer, you can totally do this with a paintbrush, but I figure it probably took me about 1/10 of the time to use the sprayer as it would have if I had used a brush. And to be honest, it was also just way more fun. Once the black coat was dry, I gave all the parts that were supposed to be red 3 coats of red paint. I like to use artist's acrylic paints for doing my painting. They seem to retain a bit of flexibility when they dry and aren't too expensive. I'm airbrushing. I've never airbrushed before in my life. This is the very first time. So I did some on this paper here, and now I'm airbrushing. I'm just giving it a bit of a dark along the those creases to just give it a little more texture and interest. That's how it looks airbrushed, and that's how it looks before it's airbrushed. Once I was finished the airbrushing, I applied gold and silver paint to all the places that I wanted to be gold or silver. If you're interested in the technique I use for this, be sure to check out some of my other videos where I go into a lot more detail. I just love putting on this gold at the end. It just makes it look amazing. I like it when things look amazing. This is gonna be spectacular. Lorinda hasn't seen the bodice I made since I painted it.
No.
So I'm gonna
Last
surprise
I saw
her.
it was all black.
Which is cool, but I think it looks cooler now. So I'm gonna surprise her by showing it to her, and we'll see her reaction. So close your eyes.
Good.
Close your eyes. Are your eyes closed?
Yes.
Still closed?
Yeah.
Okay, keep them closed. Cause
I better have a good reaction, hey?
I could do a big prank on you right now. Okay, here it is. Ta-da! That's the back of
I
it.
was looking at the back.
That's because they want to see the
wow,
front.
that gold looks really nice.
I did an awesome job on the gold.
Yeah.
I know. I was super impressed with it.
So, yeah.
Better than I usually do.
Actually, you know what? That's not true. I saw it when it was red.
Oh, you did see it.
I did see it when it was red.
She saw it when it was red.
I just haven't seen the gold.
Not a big
yet.
surprise. But look at with the gold.
Yeah. That looks amazing. I think that looks so good.
Yes.
So
It totally does.
I think it needs a little bit more gold in...
That's too hard.
Yeah. Just put a little Q-tip or something.
Alright, that's it for the bodice and the pauldron. Join me next time as we make the cape and the skirt and maybe the thing that goes on her forehead, which I forget what it's called right now. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya.
How did I do that? I thought I measured it. Obviously, I didn't measure it the same.
Clean up all my teacups and bowl of chips.